Sounds like this September event is actually going to be a lot more hardware-packed than we originally thought. Thanks to some more leaks from Mark Gurman of Bloomberg, and even some previous leaks from Macatakara, sounds like not only are we going to be getting new iPhones this year, we're also getting new iPad Pros and the unveiling of a more affordable HomePod. Doesn't sound real, but more than likely it is with these guys' track record. So let's start talking about it. So this completely throws off the iPad Pro release schedule because ever since they unveiled the first generation one, typically there's been a new iPad Pro refresh every 18 months. This was not a product that got updated annually like the iPhone. And now, because of Mark Gurman's report, it sounds like we're getting new iPad Pros potentially at the September event. They may delay it till an October event, but either way, Mark Gurman's talking about it and he has a very reliable track record, which means new iPad Pros are coming in 2019, which I apologize to people out there who may have taken my advice earlier that said, you know, you can still buy an iPad Pro this year because they're not going to update them again until June of 2020. Now, that's all getting thrown out the window a little bit because they're updating the 2018 iPad Pros in likely the September-October timeframe with new cameras on the back and updated CPU on the inside. Whether or not that's the A13 chip or the A13X chip, we don't know for sure. More than likely, it's going to be a A13X chip, which means faster than the flagship iPhones because usually Apple likes to give some more processing and GPU power to the iPad Pros than the iPhones. But I imagine since it's only been a year, the CPU performance difference between the A13, which we'll get in this year's iPhones, which Mark Gurman also detailed, will feature some new co-processors, which should allow for improved performance and efficiency. A13 chip, of course, will be faster than the A12, and the A13X chip will likely be faster than the regular A13, but probably not significantly. And even because of the fact that the iPad Pro is coming out only a year since the last generation, more than likely the A13X chip is probably just going to be a little bit faster than the A12X, not a significant improvement. So if you'd like, you could call this year's iPad Pros kind of an S upgrade because it's much earlier than usual. Why is Apple upsetting the iPad Pro release cycle? I'm not sure. There could be a number of reasons. For one, it could be because sales are doing a lot better than they used to be now because of iPad OS and the iPad lineup being much more diverse than it was before. More eyes are looking at the iPad lineup now, so maybe updating it more frequently is good for Apple so people can have up-to-date iPads and see that there's plenty of options out there. For two, it could have something to do with all of the bending complaints. You guys have seen it brought up online plenty of times. The cellular iPads have a pretty notable problem online of bending with somewhat regular use. I haven't had any issues with mine, though I also don't have the cellular model, so I don't think it really applies to the Wi-Fi only models as much. Maybe Apple wants to patch up that problem quickly so they won't continue to sell the 2018 iPad Pros anymore. The now 2019 iPad Pros are just going to fill in their place, maybe with some beefed up aluminum, potentially thicker than they were before, and of course, as Macatakara said earlier, now Mark Gurman is confirming, improved cameras on the Pro models. Potentially even the same triple camera setup we're getting on the iPhone Pros will also now be available on the iPad Pros, which is kind of bizarre because I think we can all admit iPads are generally not used for photography and videography too much. I've made videos about that in the past and how I think like it's always made fun of and mocked for people taking pictures or videos with their iPad. Even though they are great viewfinders, I don't think it's a bad experience to take pictures and videos with your iPad. But despite that, I can agree that it's not a common one. People usually don't buy iPads based on their camera quality. As cool as it is and as nice as it'll be that the new iPad Pros will be getting triple camera setups with portrait mode options, ultra wide options, and those will likely be very helpful for AR features or people who like to take lots of pictures and videos and want to have a larger viewfinder than their iPhone can provide. There's not no demographic for it. Like I've always said ever since the 2018 iPad Pro came out, there's not a whole lot of things they can do or change to the iPad Pros in the future to make this generation feel outdated. Like these were incredibly ahead of their time. So adding more camera capabilities to them is really kind of the only direction you can go in. I mean, of course you can make the CPU faster, but the A12X chip was already really fast. The speakers are great on these things. I guess you could add water resistance, but are a lot of people dropping iPads in pools? Maybe it happens sometimes, but definitely not as common as iPhone water resistance, which reportedly is getting much better this year as well. Mark Gurman says the 2019 iPhones are going to be some of the most waterproof models on the market in just smartphone water resistance in general. Though he didn't say that was coming to the iPad, I just mean that there's not really too many directions they can go in with the new iPad Pros. So maybe in 2019 they're just trying to fix up any possible problem there can be. So it's okay, make the cameras just as good good as the iPhone, and maybe beef up the aluminum a little bit, maybe give it some stronger silicon on the inside so it's future-proof and it will continue to last a long time. Battery life improvements, I guess, but for the most part, there's really not too many directions the iPad Pro can go in. From the front, it's probably going to look the same. And Mark Gurman also talked about how Face ID is going to be improving this year, working from more angles, and likely even work when it's left flat on a table. It'll still be able to see your face and unlock reliably. Perhaps those Face ID sensors are being implemented into the 2019 iPad Pros. Apple might even market them differently, calling them Face ID 2 officially. You know, Face ID was a lot different when added to the iPad Pro, but it wasn't given any extra branding. Maybe this year, the updated version of Face ID will be given extra branding or be considered second generation, like Touch ID was on the iPhone 6s. So there's directions they can take the iPad Pro in, just not too many, and it's definitely confusing to know where the future of the iPad Pro is now that they're going to be updating it this year. That probably aren't going to update it again in Worldwide Developers Conference next year. So maybe the iPad Pro release schedule is being shifted to an annual one, and we're just going to get new iPad Pros every single year from here on out. Who knows? But in regards to just the regular budget, more affordable iPad, Mark Gurman also confirmed with CoinX that there would be a more affordable iPad coming out, a 10.2-inch iPad that'll be replacing the 9.7-inch budget iPad. He didn't say if it would be more expensive, but Macatakara, that also leaked that the iPad Pros would be rocking triple cameras, is saying the 10.2-inch iPad, similar to the iPhone XR successor, most likely going to be called 2019 iPhone, will be rocking a dual camera on the back. So even though it's the more affordable iPad, it's the more budget model, it's getting thinner bezels, a bigger screen, and a dual camera on the back. Whether or not that's supposed to help with AR, or they just want more affordable iPads to have portrait mode options, I'm not sure, but the rumors and leaks right now are definitely getting fishy. It's like, why would Apple care suddenly about the camera performance of iPads? They've always kind of looked at that as a extra add-on feature, something that's helpful for document scanning, but not really any intensive photography like the iPhone is usually held to. So it's very, very possible in my mind that someone could be wrong here. Maybe the 10.2-inch iPad isn't going to get a dual camera. That sounds the most believable to me, but again, when Mark Gurman's backing it up, it's very difficult to disagree when he has such a solid track record of predictions. So it's kind of difficult to know where they're going with the iPad lineup, but needless to say, it's going to be fascinating to see what they have to talk about next month on the 10th. The other very, very fascinating news Mark Gurman detailed was that there would be an updated HomePod potentially unveiled at this event, but not available to purchase until 2020. Kind of similar to the original HomePod, which had its unveiling, but it wasn't until the following year that it was available to purchase. He's saying that it's going from a 7-tweeter array, which is a very, very loud speaker system, very, very well balanced and everything, but also quite expensive. He's saying that because the $300 HomePod didn't sell very well, Apple's working on a HomePod that only has 2 tweeters, which is a significant downgrade from the 7 that they had on the regular HomePod, which is more than likely a more affordable version with sound quality that's not quite as loud or maybe not as crisp, but it would be at a much more affordable price point, which is good because I feel like there's a huge majority of people out there that like the HomePod, but the internet has kind of all agreed that it's just too expensive, and plenty of people have said they would buy it if it was more affordable. Even though Siri's not the greatest digital assistant out there, they're still more than happy with using her on a speaker as long as it's not $300. I definitely agree. I think there's a huge market out there for that. There's plenty of people that want a Siri-powered smart speaker that can be their hub for HomeKit accessories and can still have really good sound quality. It's just $300 is just too high. And since it's a 2-tweeter speaker system instead of 7, it sounds like they're downscaling the audio performance of the HomePod quite a bit, and hopefully that means that the retail price also can go down quite a bit. Knowing that it's that much of a downgrade in regards to sound performance, I'm hoping for like $150, potentially lower. If they could get a HomePod mini to start at around $100, way more people would be interested in that. I bet a ton of people would buy it. And when you're talking about smart speakers, usually people want to put them in several different rooms throughout the house. So those high price points like the HomePod has at $300 easily stack up to well over $1,000 if you want just one per room in the household. So knowing that they're working on one that's going to be more affordable, that more people can buy, that will most likely be launching in 2020, I think that's good news. I think a lot of people are going to be into that. Hopefully there's some more software changes with the HomePod as well, make it a bit more connectivity friendly, and yeah, I think the smart speaker market could be potentially saved by a HomePod mini, because as it stands right now, there isn't much of an Apple smart speaker market. market. Not that many people want to buy the HomePod. Even though most people who do end up buying it generally enjoy it. I enjoy mine. I have 3. I have 2 stereo paired in my office, and then we have 1 in the living room. But if there was a more affordable one that we could just put in the kitchen for occasional use, or in the bedroom for listening to music in there, I could totally see myself buying a couple more if they were at a better price point. Either way, sounds like Apple's prepping a very, very exciting event next month. I know the last 2 videos I've made have been about this potential event being just stuffed to the brim with hardware, and I haven't even had time to talk about the 16-inch MacBook Pro or the Mac Pro that's likely getting launched at this event. So it's possible it may be a bigger hardware event than just iPhone. It may just be updating everything Apple makes between Macs, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches, smart speakers, AirPods getting updates, literally just updating everything, and this will just be Apple's one giant hardware event of the year. Given last year we had 2 events between the iPhone event and the iPad and Mac event, I think that could also be evident that this year we're just going to get one, but it's going to be a packed one, like a 2.5-hour event with very little fluff in it. So that makes me excited. Though I just want to end today's video saying that even if there is a new 2019 iPad Pro with a triple camera setup on the back and an A13X chip, as impressive as that sounds, I don't think I would get it. I'm very, very happy with my 2018 iPad Pro, and I don't think I see myself utilizing the triple camera setup on the back of my iPad Pro all the time. When I want to take videos or ultra-wide pictures and stuff like that, I would just easily use my iPhone for everything. I'm definitely buying this year's new iPhone models, so getting an iPad that just happens to have the same camera setup and an even faster CPU than the A12X, which is already overkill for most of what I use my iPad Pro for, I think I would pass on that. I honestly do. I may buy one to review and then return, but I doubt I would buy one just to keep. Unless my current iPad Pro bends in half, then maybe I'll upgrade it, but who knows? What are you guys planning on upgrading to this year? Let me know what you're thinking by hitting me up over on Twitter or joining our Discord. This is your Apple Sheep here. I'll see you guys in the next one.